Okay, we are at weeks 5 and 6, and this is about enzyme nutrition, gut health, and knife skills. So it's a few things, a little bit about everything. What we'll do tonight is go ahead through this workbook. You've got pages 29 to 40 that were sent over in an email. Did both of you get that?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So if you have that with you, then we're going to fill this out together as we go through this little PowerPoint presentation, and then we'll open it up for some discussion about things. We'll go from there, okay?
Okay.
Any questions before we get started?
Nope.
No.
Okay. So enzymes are, and these go on the seven, what are those?
Line.
I can't think of the word, the 7 lines, thank you. So enzymes are number 1, alive. Number 2, needed for digestion, proper cell function and repair. So that all goes on the second line. Number 3, they are used by all of the systems in our bodies. Number 4, they give us energy. Five, they're essential for a high quality of life. Six, they build our bodies from proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. And that 7th line, say, do not tolerate heat. So before this, I learned that they could tolerate heat up to about 130 degrees, but there's a book that I've been reading called Enzyme Nutrition. Can you see that? No. This is by Dr. Edward Howell, and he says that they do not tolerate heat at all. So that's something to keep in mind when you're dehydrating and warming. He says anything that's hotter than your finger is too hot for the enzymes. So that's usually the test that I have when I'm warming something up on the stove, especially in the winter time. If there's a soup or something that I just want a little bit warm, then I'll just use my finger as a thermometer and go around and stir it. And if it gets too hot for my finger, I know that the enzymes are going to die. So make sure that they're just warm enough for that finger, okay? They are the most precious assets that we possess. We must treat them well and use them to the fullest for best health. Okay. The next one. There are 3 classes of enzymes, and they are metabolic. These go on the next 3 lines. Digestive and food enzymes. Now, of those 3 enzymes, says blank enzymes do not follow. So that's metabolic enzymes comes in the next one, number 3. They don't do, or they do the following. They run all of our activities, even our thinking. We depend on them for good health and performance. And hundreds of these enzymes are needed every day for repairing and healing of damage and decay, as well as disease in every cell and tissue of the body. Number 4, digestive enzymes have only 3 main jobs. They are, so in these, number 1, the line protease enzymes digest protein. Amylase enzymes digest carbohydrates. And lipase enzymes digest fats. So you can remember the protease by protein and the lipase by lipo means fat, and then just remember amylase for carbohydrates. Okay, and the next page, number 5, amylase goes in the first line there, enzymes, and protease enzymes, that's the second line. are the two most potent digestive enzymes secreted by the human body. And then the third line is saliva supplies a high concentration of amylase enzymes, and stomach juice contains protease. So the saliva has a high concentration of amylase, which digests the, do you remember what it was?
That's that
Carbs.
question.
The carbs.
Carbohydrates, yep. And then the stomach juice contains protease, which digests what?
Oh.
Protein, right?
Protein.
Protein, good job. Okay, this number 6, this reduces maltose to dextrose. Oh wait, hold on a second. It says lipase is weaker in concentration but works alongside amylase and protease. So number 6, this reduces maltose to dextrose and is secreted by the pancreas, and that is maltase, M-A-L-T-A-S-E. Okay, we going about the right speed for you?
Yeah.
Okay, number 7, the pancreas is the largest enzyme factor in the body. When we eat cooked food, the pancreas enlarges, as do other digestive organs. Eating more cooked food helps decrease, oh sorry, no, this is raw, sorry. More raw food helps decrease the burden of all digestive organs. Okay, so the pancreas is enlarged when we're eating cooked foods because it has to secrete all these enzymes to try and digest the food. And it really taxes all the organs, the liver, the kidneys. So eating more raw food helps to decrease the burden of all digestive organs. Eating more foods that are raw help decrease the burden. Oh, I already said that. Sorry. Okay, so number 8 then is food enzymes do the following. They come from the food we eat. They help take off the digestive load from the body. They come from live food. And they help our enzyme reserve, which is our bank account. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about this for a minute. We are actually born with an enzyme reserve, which is, you can think of maybe a piggy bank that you have full of enzymes, okay? And these are all the food enzymes that we're able to digest our food with. But as we get older, you know, we're eating cooked food and not taking care of ourselves very well. And so what happens is the body actually shuts down the energy system so that it can concentrate on digestion whenever we're eating cooked food. So this is why a lot of the senior citizens have a difficult time digesting food, because their reserve is just about depleted and they haven't been receiving it from raw food. So every time we can add more enzymes to that bank account by eating food that is alive and full of enzymes, then that helps our digestion. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
any questions? No?
And this is
Okay.
a lot to digest.
It is, huh?
Okay.
All right. So enzymes convert the food that we eat into chemical structures that can pass through the cell membranes of the cell lining, the digestive tract, and into the bloodstream. Food must be digested so that it can ultimately pass through cell membranes. So it's going through the cell and bringing the nutrients into the cell, and it needs to be digested and go into the bloodstream first so that it can pass through those cell membranes and nourish the cell. Enzymes also aid in converting the prepared food into new muscle, flesh, bone, nerves, and glands. Working with the liver, they help store excess food for future energy and building needs. So they are doing their job 24/7. They're doing everything in our bodies, and without enzymes, we would not be alive. And this comes from the Enzyme Nutrition, the Food Enzyme Concept by Dr. Edward Howell, page 33. All right, number 9 is eating raw food Hold on just a second. Sorry. I hope you have a pencil. Eating raw food equals more energy. So on number 9 is cooked food creates fatigue after a meal. The body uses up its own reserve of enzymes for digestion, and more stomach acid is secreted as a result. Okay, so the cooked food gives us fatigue after a meal. And then raw food, number 10, creates energy after a meal. And uses the enzymes from the food for digestion, taking the added burden off of the body, and less stomach acid is secreted because it's not needed. Now, is our stomach acid alkaline or acidic?
I assume it's acidic.
It is, but it's a very weak acidic. It's not like a carnivore where they need to have a high amount of acid to digest the meat. So that's one of the reasons why we have a hard time digesting meat as well, because the hydrochloric acid is not very acidic. So it takes several days to go through the system to digest, and actually ferments while it's sitting in there. And that's what you're smelling, is the fermentation when somebody has body odor or breath odor, which is pretty gross, huh?
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So enzymes equal life and energy. Eating a high amount of raw food, number 11, helps in the following ways. It helps to cleanse the body of impurities and toxins, aids in proper digestion, nourishes every cell, helps you eat less because your body absorbs more nutrients, helped me get rid of my symptoms, and helps a lot of my clients do the same. Live enzymes from food give energy, and they help you look and feel younger. All right, so are there any questions about enzymes at this point?
No.
Okay. We're going to go through on page 31. I don't have all of this on here, so I'm going to get out of this page here. And then we'll go over to, so this is what we just talked about, and now we're going to talk about maintaining a sustainable raw food diet. Okay, so there are many different approaches to eating a raw food vegan diet. Most raw food diets obtain a high percentage of daily calories from fat, but including oils and significant amounts of avocado, nuts, and seeds, and sometimes coconut meat and olives. These diets tend to be unsustainable since too much fat, even raw fat, causes health problems and results in the underconsumption of carbohydrates from fruit. As a result, many people end up using supplementation and stimulants instead of food for proper nutrition and energy, and ultimately they'll give up on the raw food diet because it's not, like they said, sustainable. Okay, so if you can picture this, we talked a little bit about the 80-10-10 way of eating, right?
Yeah.
Now this is the ultimate way of living. It's a great way, especially in the tropics, and I think you can sustain it in higher elevations as well, but you do have to do some work to get that balance that you're seeking. And then just following the word of wisdom, my personal opinion is that we need to be careful not to say that I'm absolute raw vegan and I'm never going to touch any animal meat whatsoever again. Because if we get into a situation where that is needed, then it's important for us to save our lives to be able to use that. Also, I mean, I'm not a staunch raw vegan. I was like that for about 6 months and I about went mentally crazy. It's not really something that I aspire to do, just because a lot of vegans that I've met are not very nice. They get really religious about it and they start being really mean to people who eat animal products, and I'm not like that. I don't want to be like that. The other thing is, you know, I think it's important for us in these higher altitudes and during winter and famine that we need to have a little bit of meat and dairy and eggs and things like that as needed. So I don't say I'm 100% anything. I just follow what my body needs. And it's a high amount of raw food, which is anywhere from 80 to 95, sometimes 100%. But I'm not always at 100%. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So you get to decide what percentage you want to eat. And then if you feel like you're feeling really good, it may be 20 or 30%, and you want to go up to there, maybe 50%, then do it. Start eating more. And then if you feel like you want to benefit even more from it, then you can go up to 70 or 80%, and then, kind of go from there. But it's kind of a levels type thing where you go through your transition from the standard American diet over to eating more fruits and vegetables, but not really giving up a lot of the meat and dairy, kind of reducing a little bit. And that's where this Reasonably Raw recipe book comes in very handy. This is for the transition period, and I hope that you're using this. Are you both using this book?
I don't have that book, so I'm going to have to get it.
You don't? Okay. Yeah, that would be good. This one really helps feeding your family too, because there are a lot of comfort foods, but I call it healthified. They just have healthier ingredients in there. And like I said, we reduce the amount of animal products, but there's still some recipes in there. There are more plants, and then we reduce the heat. So you cook your meat first, and then you reduce the heat down to low, add your vegetables, get those sauteed a little bit on low heat, and then turn it off and add your spices at the end. And that makes it so that the enzymes are still intact. You can tell if the vegetables are still colorful. The bright color is an indication that they're still there, as well as the crunch. So you need to have those two things. And then the medicinal properties of both the vegetables and the spices are really important too, and that will help to give you a medicinal type meal. And then you can feel a lot better after eating, and your body doesn't have to use so much of the enzyme reserve to be able to digest the meal. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does not?
Yes, it does make
Oh, it
sense.
does. Okay, sorry. Okay, so this would be a great place, like I said, to start. And it does have some raw recipes. There are kale chips in here that are really good. You can just kind of look through here and choose what you'd like to have. I do have some plant-based type recipes, as well as toward the back, I've got gluten-free baked items for people who are just looking for something like that. But be careful with those, because they do have some processed sugar in there. And if you're dealing with candida overgrowth, then that is something that I would suggest staying away from, okay? And we will talk a bit about that in a little bit. So eating mostly vegetables with large amounts of greens will not sustain us, because they don't contain nearly enough calories to fuel us. And a lot of these diets out there are getting rid of fuel, or the fruit, and they're just saying cut out every fruit and sugar possible. That's the wrong advice, because the fruit, oh my goodness, it has so much incredible life and energy that it gives us. It has, in all the different colors, I have this book, it's called The Color Code. It talks about all the different colors of the fruits and vegetables and what they do. It's a great book. It's by James A. Joseph, PhD, and Daniel A. Nadeau. I'll just hold up like that so you can see. But it's a really good book, because it tells you, this is where I found out that the carotenoids have natural sunscreen. So if you eat carrots and vegetables and things with those bright colors, fruits also, that you'll be able to protect your skin. And we talked about that last week, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So that's where I found this out, and I've been testing it on myself, and it's working pretty well. So really good book.
I have a comment or a question.
Okay.
It seems like that the reason that a lot of people are cutting out fruits is they say they're so high in sugars.
I know, but it's not it's a different type of sugar that our bodies are actually designed to eat. Do you remember we talked about how we're frugivores and we need to have about 80% fruit?
Right.
So if we're keeping the fat low, where we talked about here at the first paragraph, what the problem is with a lot of people with eating a raw food diet is that they eat too much of the fat. So they're trying to mimic the standard American diet and that's what I did the first year or so, just wanting to have a lot of the you know, like the raw tacos and raw pizza and all these types of things. And you're using nuts and seeds as a base for those, as well as pies and cakes and stuff. And you can get anywhere from 40 to 60% fat out of that, which is too high. And so that starts to slow down the bloodstream like we talked about last week. And then the fruit sugars have a hard time getting through and doing their job. So that's where you get the spikes in sugar for the diabetics. That's where you get the candida overgrowth. It feeds the candida. And that's where it feeds the tumor cells and, you know, in the cancer and things like that. So in that situation, you would want to reduce the amount of fruit that you're eating. But it's really not the fruit that's the problem, it's the fat, okay? So if we can understand that the fat needs to stay at about a handful, like we talked about a quarter of a cup or so, depending on the size of your hand, and that's per day. And that includes all of the healthy fats, the avocados, olives, nuts and seeds, anything like that. And we want the whole fat. Remember, we talked about the oils, that we don't want the oils that are extracted, okay? So keeping that fat low will allow those sugars and the carbohydrates to go through the bloodstream and then start feeding every cell of the body. And then what they're saying is that if you eat mostly vegetables and greens, they're not going to sustain you. If you've noticed that, like if you eat salads and vegetables all the time, you're still quite hungry. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So then you start going to the bread and all this other stuff, and it's not sustainable. So this is where the fruits come in. The fruits have the fiber in there, so they help slow the bloodstream or the sugars down in the bloodstream a little bit so that they can go through and do their job. They don't rush super fast. But it also, you know, allows for us to get rid of the junk. It's very cleansing. Fruit is very cleansing. It's the first to be digested, and it has most of the calories that we need. So it says the bulk of a successful raw food diet gets the daily calories from fruits, along with liberal amounts of vegetables for the high amount of minerals that they contain. So we need to have the dark leafy greens for their minerals and all of the colorful rainbow colors of the fruits and vegetables so we can have all the nutrients available. Eating a small amount, about a quarter cup or a handful of nuts and seeds and other whole food fats, help the body to absorb the sugars from the fruit quickly into every cell of the body without spiking the blood sugars or feeding candida fungus or cancer cells. These whole live foods contain large amounts of enzymes, as spoken of previously, which give us life and energy after our meals and help sustain us throughout the day. So the key is to eat a high amount of what?
Fruit?
Fruit, yes. And as much blank as you can consume. So what would that be?
Vegetables?
Vegetables and greens. And then a very small amount of
Fats.
healthy fats, or whole fats, yeah. So a word about supplementation. Supplementation may come in handy at the beginning of switching over to a raw food lifestyle to help balance out the nutrients. Also, if there are limited resources of fresh fruits and vegetables during the winter or in remote areas, supplementation is a good idea. It can also be used for food storage and keeps well for several years, depending on the way that it is processed. Be sure to get a reputable source and read the labels. Remember from last class, the ingredients ending in, what are they?
I don't remember.
It's ATE.
Yeah.
So ATE and IDE.
Okay.
So anything ending in ate or ide are considered synthetic and can be made from petroleum or rocks, which our bodies cannot absorb. People may receive great results at the beginning, but over time, use of these ingredients may cause other health issues and possible damage to organs and systems of the body. Instead, look for products that are low temperature processed, are non-GMO, organic, or wild-crafted, and free of other high allergen ingredients like soy, corn, wheat, for gluten-sensitive people. And then make sure that sprouted wheat or wheatgrass, I want you to know that it does not contain gluten, or a very tiny amount. it's actually the seed of the wheat that contains the gluten. So when it grows the grass, that does not have gluten in it, okay?
Okay.
As long as they cut it and don't get the seed involved. Fish, dairy, eggs, etc. are other high sensitive ingredients as well, unless you can tolerate some of those. So I've used many different companies, and a couple of them that I recommend are Garden of Life, which you can find at Good Earth and other health food stores and online. And then Purium, I like this one a lot. And so I've decided to sell this one because it's a really good one. So if you want to learn more about it, you can, or I'll teach about it. They've got over 52 products, got more now. They've come out with a few more for the microbiome now. So that helps with the gut health as well. And I'm happy to do a separate call on that to discuss that if you'd like. Any questions about supplementation or sustaining a raw food diet?
No.
No.
All right. So let's talk about gut health now on page 32. There is a lot about gut health these days, a lot of talk about it. The genetically modified foods are being traced to poor gut health and weakening the immune system, since most of the immune system resides in the gut. Gosh, there's some errors there. Eating a high amount of raw food is helpful in restoring the gut flora over time. But if you really struggle with leaky gut, you'll need to heal the gut first. Here are some suggestions of how to do this. So first of all, buy only organic fruits and vegetables. Conventional produce contains a lot of pesticides, herbicides, and are highly likely to be sprayed with glyphosate from Roundup. This is very hard on the gut lining and kills off the good bacteria. Wash your produce well with a vegetable wash. That's found in the Reasonably Raw recipe book on page 21. Or you can use lemon juice or something else to be able to cut that. Juice your fruits and vegetables for the first several weeks, up to several months if you need to help the gut heal and get the maximum amount of nutrients available quickly. Go easy on the grains, especially if they're not organic, as they're also heavily sprayed, and eliminating them completely until your gut is healed may be best. Use supplementation or a protocol for restoring gut health if necessary. Pay attention to food combining to help reduce gas, bloating, and intestinal upset. The enzymes from juicing and eating raw food should also help with repairing the gut over time. So stay away from processed foods, sugars, cooked foods, and soda. These increase the acidity in your gut and continue perpetuating the problem. If you notice that you have severe cravings for sugar or other foods, consider doing a liver cleanse or a juice cleanse to calm things down. Use organic juice that's unfiltered for best results. Stop eating cooked foods. The repeated consumption of cooked food results in a detrimental enlargement of the pancreas, like we talked about, as well as damage to the liver, heart, thyroid gland, adrenals, and most other organs, as a result of toxic exposure combined with reduced oxygen availability. So do you remember when we discussed the toxins that were in a hamburger, like the acrylamide that is a cancer-causing agent in the brown foods from toasting, grilling, frying, boiling, etc.? These are just some of the toxins in cooked food. Eating cooked food has also been shown to provoke degenerative changes in almost all aspects of blood chemistry. These changes usually reverse rapidly when exposure to cooked food is eliminated. So a lot of the chronic illnesses that we have can be traced back to this cooked food, because it's void of enzymes and it has the acrylamide and other cancer-causing agents and ingredients that we don't know about. It's damaging our health. Studies have shown that our immune system often reacts to the introduction of cooked food to the bloodstream the same way it does to foreign pathogens such as bacteria, viruses, and fungi. The body literally attacks the food, sending an army of white blood cells to do the job. So raw food is the key to longevity, a youthful appearance, energy, and an optimum lifestyle. Now, let's talk a little bit about Candida, because Julia, you had some questions on that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, Candida is an overgrowth of the yeast that's in the gut, okay? it happens, there's another book that I really like. Got all my books here tonight. This is called The pH Miracle, and it's by Robert O. Young and his wife Shelley Redford Young. And they talk a lot in here about how the pH levels need to be balanced, and that a high acid pH will result in a sickness.
Yeah.
Okay, and this was found out by Dr. Warburg, I believe his name was, in the 1920s. He found out that cancer cannot survive in an oxygenated environment, so it thrives in an acidic environment. So when the body is acidic, the oxygen is having a hard time getting through, and oftentimes you'll have shallow breathing, and then just really poor circulation. And those are some indications, as well as high blood pressure. That's also a circulation problem. And it's traced back to the animal products as well. So when you're on medications for high blood pressure, that's actually going to make it so that your other organs eventually will fail, because they're not getting the oxygen, and they're not being used properly. They're not able to get rid of the junk that's in the system properly. So it all just kind of gets gummed up. And it creates that acidic environment, and then eventually you get very sick or can die from it. So the problem really is to, okay, well, I'll share my experience here with you with the Candida. My Candida was really bad. It got to the point where, I mean, I was itching all the time, and this is gross, but I had like cottage cheese type stuff coming out, okay? And so it was very unsightly and very difficult to deal with, and it was mostly because I was addicted to sugar. So being a cake decorator and being around all that sugar, that was a major issue for me. And then trying to come off of that sugar addiction was difficult. It's a very emotional thing, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later tonight too. But when I started working through the emotions attached to the sugar, where I wanted sweetness in life, and I was feeling like nobody cared, and life was just hard, and I had all these emotions and thoughts attached to it, then I would go to the sugar for comfort. And I remember times when, I'd think, well, I'll just eat one bite. And then after the one bite, something kicked in, kind of like a drug addict has. It's like your mind takes over, or something takes over, and you can't stop until you make yourself sick. So, Julia, tell me a little bit about your relationship with sugar.
Well, more recently, I've done really well, I think. We stopped processed foods in our house last year. As far as we don't buy cookies, and I don't use white sugar. So I do use honey and syrup, but I do crave that sweet something a lot.
Yeah.
And so, and I also, it's probably not on the subject, I crave salt, like chips or corn chips. But so those cravings haven't left, even though I don't buy those and I don't put them in my house. I'll go to, I don't know if it's the same because it's not the white sugar, but I'll crave that sweetness in other ways.
Okay.
So
that tells me that you're not getting enough fruit. How much fruit are you eating in a day?
Oh, probably definitely not enough. Recently I've done a lot more because of this course, but
Good.
In the past I did focus more on vegetables, and I probably might have had a couple slices of an apple or an orange a day, literally just a little taste of something. I might have had a little bit of a strawberry or whatever I was feeding my kids. But
Right.
I've made it a point to start my day with some fruit now, and I've tried to have more servings. I'm making more of an effort, I would definitely say.
Good. And are you noticing that those sugar cravings are going away as you're eating more fruit?
Yeah, I would say my cravings more recently have been based more on salt, which I read from your notes that are craving comfort or craving laziness or no stress or whatever.
Right.
So I'm craving you know, like the breads and the chips and things. And we don't do a lot of, we do corn chips, but, you know, we don't do a lot of regular wheat breads or anything like that. But so I use like buckwheat flours and different things, and I make muffins out of the different gluten-free flours, but still crave that type of stuff.
Okay. Well, a lot of times too, we're craving the texture of things.
Yeah.
You know, I craved the softness of the cake or breads, and
Yeah.
I craved the crunch of the chips. And so I switched over from the soft stuff. I'm trying to think of what I do with soft. It's more of the juicy fruits, I think, that help with the softness. But then the crunch, if I have carrots or celery or something that are crunchy, I tend to not need to have the chips. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe going over to some of those instead will really help increase those volumes, you know, as much as you can eat, and don't worry about counting calories and all this other stuff.
Okay.
Remember to just keep that fat low to a handful a day, and then eat as much fruit and as much vegetables and greens as you possibly can eat. And that will help with keeping things balanced. Now, in with your fat, remember to get the omega-3s especially, because we usually are low on those. So you'll want to put in some flaxseed or chia seed, hemp seed. Those all have some really good omegas in there. And then that will help keep things balanced. Okay? Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay, now the other thing that I noticed with my candida is once I got off of sugar completely and just started going toward the fruit, in one day my candida symptoms left. And it's not that the candida was gone, it's just that they subsided. So another thing that they talk about in the pH Miracle is that there are things called microforms. And microforms are the molds and fungus and bacteria and things that are in the body. And what they're doing is they're pooping basically in our system, and then they feed off of that, and it's just kind of in a cesspool in our system. And it causes all sorts of problems in the system as well. And when you get this overgrowth of candida, they're just going crazy and eating everything there. So they eat the sugary foods, they like the breads and cooked foods, all the things that aren't good for us, they like, okay? So when you're trying to transition over into eating more of a plant-based raw food diet, then you're starving them, and they're screaming at you saying, feed me, and that's where these cravings are coming from. So if you can hold off and just go toward that fruit and just keep that healthy mindset of, I'm going to do this, I'm determined to get over this, and for a couple of weeks or maybe even a month or so, you might feel more hungry than normal, or you might feel tired or fatigued, you might feel those cravings. That's where you need to eat more fruits and vegetables, and you might gain a little bit of weight, or you might lose some, and that's okay, because your body's trying to learn to adjust, okay? So don't worry about all the symptoms and everything going on. Your body is getting rid of the microforms and other toxins in the system. It's cleaning itself out with your fruits, your juices, any kind of cleanse that you're doing. It's really important too to get that out of the bloodstream. And Dr. Christopher has a great bloodstream formula that I use to help rid the body of that. I just did, I ended up doing 3 days of that juice cleanse that I told you about last week. And I was really tired, and I could actually feel I had some pains in my heart during this time. And that's often when heavy metals can go through the heart, or other toxins can go through there. And so sometimes you can feel it when you're cleansing. And it's all of these impurities go into the bloodstream, and it's almost like you're dirtier than you were before you started. But if you clean that out, red clover is a really good one for the bloodstream. And this formula has that and a lot of other herbs that help with cleansing the bloodstream. So if you can do that while you're doing your cleanse, and then also making sure that the bowel is clear, like we talked about toward the beginning, keeping that flowing so that you can get those toxins out of the system, then you're going to really get a good internal cleanse. How have both of you done with your cleansing? Have either of you done anything for that yet?
I haven't really done anything with that yet. I just haven't felt like I had the time to do it.
That's okay.
Think
Do you
about
feel like you're getting enough cleaning by just switching over to eating more fruits and vegetables?
Yeah, I could.
Okay,
I'm doing really good at doing the drink every day,
good.
and that's what's giving me more energy. I know that.
Excellent. Yeah, so just even starting with that green smoothie is perfect. That helps you get things moving, and any kind of fruit or greens or vegetables, those are all very cleansing to the system. So you are going to start getting a cleanse as you go along. And then maybe in the spring, when you've cleaned out quite a bit, then that will be a good time. But the spring and the fall are usually good times for cleanses, to go a little bit deeper. But right now, if you feel like that's not something you want to tackle, that's okay too. But it might help you with your cravings. It might help to get those microforms out quicker so you don't have to go longer dealing with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I don't.
I'll let you decide what you want to do, and if you want to talk to me a bit further about it, we can discuss it. But any questions on cleanses or candida or anything like that?
No, well, I had a question. Like you said, like you want for the apple juice that you drank, you want raw, unfiltered. But I couldn't really find any of that this time of year. Did you just like I don't know. I was
This
looking at
is
the Good Earth, but I found like something from a local farm in Santa Quin, that Red Barn apple cider stuff.
good. Yeah.
But it says that it was flash pasteurized, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, you can't really find raw, unfortunately, unless you do it yourself. But
Yeah.
you're still going to get some great benefits from the pectin and the enzymes that are still intact.
Okay.
So you just do your best. This time I couldn't find any that wasn't super duper expensive over at Good Earth, so I just went ahead and used the stuff over at Walmart. This is actually the best time to be getting the juice because we've gone through the harvest and they're making all the apple juice. So
Yeah, I've seen it everywhere, but I just know that it's not unfiltered and raw. So, I mean, we bought some and I tried, I think I did probably a day and a half before I had a meltdown and did too much more. But I tried.
good. Well, you probably got quite a bit of benefit from just that one day. That's great. Tell me about your meltdown. What happened?
Well, so I probably mentioned in my email I have endometriosis and I've had surgery for it, but I'm probably needing more surgery, which I'm trying to avoid. But what it does is when it flares, it causes my bowel to be constricted. So it causes, I'm assuming it's like irritable bowel where I'm constipated and I can't go. And it's no matter what like when I know that's coming and it's been pretty consistent for the last couple of years, then I try to, that's why I went dairy free completely. And then I try to avoid less meat at that time. But even this last time where I was avoiding pretty much everything, I had a pretty bad episode and it lasts for about a week. And then my body seems to, whatever hormones calm down. And then I'm able to start processing food again. But I know that I've been told by many doctors that I need surgery. I'm just trying to avoid it because the last surgery was really hard for me to recover from.
Okay. So we talked about the red raspberry leaf tea. Did you
Yes.
start on that?
Yeah, I've been taking that for a few years, but I need to be more consistent with it. I usually take it really consistently for while I'm having the pain, but then the rest of the month I let it go.
Well, that's what's going to nourish and strengthen and help your body heal that area. It's good for all the women's organs. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I want you to make up like a gallon and drink a gallon a day. I'm not even joking.
Okay. All right.
That will be your juice. And you can put it in the refrigerator and drink it cold. Put it in
I've been doing that. Yeah, you told me that, and so I tried that this last few weeks, and I've made more of it. And So I've been just drinking it cold.
Good. Are you feeling a difference at all?
Well, like I said, it's hard to say because like
Yeah.
now that my cycle's changed, I feel better now. But a few weeks ago, felt like I was dying.
Yeah. You know, and you might still feel like that for a while. There's some
Yeah.
scar tissue in there and
Yeah.
other things that you're dealing with. We talked also about the comfrey tea. What did you think about that?
You know, I have not tried that, so I need to go get me some of that.
Okay, I think that's going to help with the lining and help, because it's a cell proliferant. So what it does is it helps the cells grow back quickly, and it helps in the healing. And I would do it internally and externally. You know, make a fomentation out of that. So what I did is get a bunch of cloth diapers,
Uh-huh.
and then make a tea out of the comfrey. And you can do either the root or the leaves. Either one is fine. The root needs to be simmered a little bit so you can get the properties out. So the leaf would be good. But then put that in it, and it's kind of gelatinous. It has a gelatin type texture to it, but you can just put that right over your abdomen.
Oh wow! So just soak the fabric in it, and then
Yeah,
let it soak onto your skin.
yeah.
Oh,
The same thing. I did that when I had my thyroid problems. I was trying to get off of the medication. I'd had surgery. I think, I don't know, it'd have been 7 years or so. Well, it's probably more than that. I think it would have been about 12 years actually since I had surgery, and I'd been on the synthetic thyroid, and I took Mullein and Lobelia, 3 parts Mullein and 1 part Lobelia, and I made tea out of that. And then I did a fomentation and just put it over my neck every night and just slept like that. And within several weeks, I was able to get off of the medication and start using the herbal formula with Dr. Christopher. I actually used it both in conjunction.
Oh,
But these fomentations are really good because the skin will soak that up.
uh-huh.
And so you can do a lot from the outside and the inside.
So how do you spell fomentation?
FOMENTATION.
Okay, that's just something I haven't heard of before.
Okay. Yeah, it's just there's a decoction which is made out of roots. That's where you steam the roots and make a decoction, which is similar to a tea. In fact, a tea is a decoction.
Okay.
And then you've got your fomentation where you have some sort of the cloth where you put it over onto the skin. So
yeah, well, I know I have some thyroid issues too. I'm not on any medicine for it, but I've been told that I'm borderline and my hair's been falling out a lot more recently.
Is it low thyroid?
Yeah.
Okay, then I would suggest getting the herbal, Dr. Christopher's herbal thyroid. You do that one from 1 month. It has a natural herb in there that has a little bit of caffeine, so it boosts the thyroid. Mm-hmm. And then you switch over to the thyroid maintenance formula, which is what I'm on, and you do that forever.
Okay.
The thyroid can actually regenerate. Most of our body's organs and things can regenerate. And I believe that mine has regenerated because I'm off the Levoxyl completely. It's functioning normal. I just had it checked with blood tests and it's fine.
Cool.
But I'm using those herbs instead. So that would be a really good thing to do.
Okay. Well, I'm getting some more blood tests pretty soon so I can find out for sure.
Yeah, that'll be good. Any other questions? Sandra, do you have questions?
No, I don't. My thyroid, I think it's always been low, but I've never really had problems. I mean, borderline low, but I've never seemed to have problems with it.
Okay, another resource for, the systemic overgrowth that we were talking about, going back to that for 1 second. This is the herballegacy.com. Dr. Christopher has some great articles on here. But you can just go into the search area and search up Candida or thyroid or anything in there, and it'll pull up articles. So this one is the natural protocol for systemic yeast overgrowth of leaky gut syndrome. And in here, it tells you the procedure to use. There's a first procedure, You use a decoction of black walnut and pau de arco, 1 quart each day. And it tells you how to do it. You can take the lower bowel formula during that time. And then the second procedure is in 14 days. You take some of his soothing digestion formula. So it'll tell you the whole protocol for getting through this, and then the probiotics and things that you can use. So just go there to herballegacy.com, and this one was /candida.html.
Okay.
And that will give you the protocol. And then, like I said, it's a great resource for you guys to go on and take a look.
Good.
Okay, so Sandra, was there anything else you wanted to talk about with the thyroid?
No.
Okay, how are things going for you? Are there any issues you wanted to discuss?
For me?
Uh-huh.
No, I had hypoglycemia years and years ago, and so I went for 2 years without any sugar at all. So I was able to get off the sugar kick, but now I still crave it, and I'll eat it once in a while, but I know when I've had too much, I just am really ornery and very snippy.
Yeah.
So
I had hypoglycemia for quite a while too, to the point where I would almost faint, like in the grocery store. I remember having to lay down, and they saw me in the camera and came to see what was going on. It was so embarrassing. But yeah, I would get like that all the time, and I could not fast.
Yeah.
When I started eating raw food and doing more of the fruit sugars and getting rid of the other sugars, everything has stabilized. I can fast now. I don't have any issues with hypoglycemia at all.
yeah,
So,
I'm the same way. I can fast. I used to never could fast.
yeah.
I haven't been able to fast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So this is going to help with balancing things out for you so that you won't have those issues anymore. So I'm excited to see how it goes for you.
Yeah, I'm excited to go. I feel really good about this. I just really do.
Good.
Having some good experiences with it, even though I haven't gotten completely into it yet.
Uh-huh.
But I'm living a very stressful life right now. There's a lot going on, but I seem to be able to handle it better.
Good. Well, anything you can do to get that fruit in there, keep the fat low, and get more vegetables and fruits, and reduce or eliminate the animal products. That's really what we're trying to teach you to do. And it is a process. Be patient with yourself and just do the best that you can. But you should notice a big difference even with just doing that green smoothie. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so we went over cleansing and detoxing, but I wanted to give you this information just in case you're dealing with some of the symptoms of a detox. When cleansing the inside of your body with a juice cleanse, fasting, or even from eating more fresh fruits and vegetables, your body may experience some detox symptoms. This is nothing to be too concerned about, and some people don't experience any ill effects. However, if you are one of the lucky ones that experiences any of the following, just know that you're normal and it will pass soon. They can range from mild to severe, but they are a cause for celebration because your body's going through an internal cleanse and will feel better. Possible detox symptoms to watch out for are fatigue, runny nose, headache, digestive issues, weight loss, skin conditions, and I would put weight gain there too. Sometimes you gain weight, and you need to, if you're doing that, make sure the bowel is getting cleaned out, okay? Because that's an indication that all the toxins are getting out of the system, but they don't have anywhere to go. So you've got to keep that bowel open. Skin conditions are also another issue having to do with the bowel. So Dr. Christopher's quick colon cleanse would be a great thing to get for that, as well as using his lower bowel formula. Drops in blood pressure, diarrhea, constipation, vomiting, retracting phenomena. Okay, this is interesting. It's re-experiencing symptoms from conditions in the past that you may have interrupted with medications or other medical interventions that are still holding on. Wow. So some of that can actually be coming out because you haven't dealt with it. Isn't that interesting?
Very.
Cold or flu-like symptoms, gas, and bloating. And that's just a little list. There's a lot more that can happen. You can feel nauseous or faint or things like that. Many of our illnesses are also attached to emotions. So you'll find some emotions that you shove down with food may come up. This happened to me a lot. So here's some additional self-help ideas. Be good to yourself and get plenty of rest. Drink plenty of water. Talk yourself through the thoughts that you may be having and create more positive self-talk. Journal your thoughts and feelings. Create a black journal for your negative thoughts and a white journal for your positive thoughts. Or you can do one journal with 2 columns. Now, in one column or one journal, you write down one negative thought, and then for that negative thought, I want you to write 3 positive thoughts, because it's been proven that it takes 3 positives to cancel out a negative. So we need to be doing 3 positive thoughts for every negative thought that you have. And if you can start journaling like this, that will help you to get those emotions out and start dealing with them, and then talking back to them in the opposite way of being positive. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, seek out help from a friend, therapist, or energy worker to help get rid of the past emotions. This helped me probably the most, was doing the energy healing. When I was a senior in high school, my parents divorced, and I had a lot of emotions associated with that. And I went to therapy for several years, and talk therapy really didn't do anything for me. And I carried this anger for about 25 years. And finally, I was at the pinnacle of my health crisis and realized that I needed to do something. And I reached out to my friend, who was the energy healer, and she was able to help me. In one session, I would say it was equal to probably 10 years of talk therapy. It was unbelievable how much she was able to help with that. And so I've been able to get rid of a lot of past junk just through that energy clearing. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. You can also take a probiotic with prebiotics that help to feed it. So prebiotics are the food for the probiotic, and you need to have something that has both. Reduce or eliminate all animal products for best results. Use herbs to help with various symptoms. To cut the mucus, use red raspberry leaf tea until symptoms are gone, or a warm onion on the chest. We talked about that last week. If you'd like to consult with me then about your specific condition, then call me and we'll schedule an appointment. Then be kind to yourself and others and watch what you're thinking and saying, okay? Remember that your thoughts become your words and those become your actions. So catch your thoughts and change them to something positive or shut the door on them. This is something I do on my private coaching. I talk with people a lot about their emotions, and sometimes in the group coaching, people don't really want to go there. So, I mean, we can, but when we talk about our emotions, the emotions are often attached to the food, and we shove our emotions down with food, or we try to comfort ourselves or numb ourselves out with food. So food is really a symptom of something deeper going on inside. And so if you can start doing some of these things to help you become more aware of what's going on and catch yourself when you have a thought that comes into your mind that might be negative. A lot of times we're not even thinking about this. We don't catch ourselves. And so I want you guys to be more aware of what's going on, because our thoughts, if we can stop those, then we can stop the negative words and the negative actions. Okay, it all starts with that thought. And I want you to understand that you are not the only one that puts thoughts in your mind. We have other alternate adversaries that come in and try and put thoughts into our minds. I was listening to a podcast by Mike Strauss. Have you heard of him before?
No.
I think it's Mike Stroud. Anyway, he was talking about how he said that people who have addictions in this life that they don't overcome, they are considered the unclean spirits that it's talking about in the scriptures, and they go into the spirit world with those same addictions. They don't overcome them after this life until they work on it. But those addictions and cravings and things can become 10 times stronger And that was taught to us by Brigham Young. He said that those addictions become 10 times stronger after this life. And they actually can come and try and influence us and try and get into our bodies to use our physical bodies to try and gain satisfaction. And this can be with pornography or substance abuse, those types of things, where they didn't fully get what they wanted here, the satisfaction here. And so when they go into the next life, if they haven't overcome those things, then they'll try and come into our bodies or our minds to be able to gain that satisfaction. I thought that was really interesting because as I think about these things, I realize that we are here on this earth to overcome our physical bodies, to overcome the natural desires that we have. And if we can learn to do this now and become the masters of our bodies and our minds, then our spirits will heighten and we will have this incredible ability to overcome anything. And I'm experiencing that. I have been throughout these past over 8 years now, but really coming to understand that I have that ability to do that along with Heavenly Father or Jesus Christ. I can call upon them and ask them for their help. And I think too many times we try to do this alone. And so, Julia, when you're dealing with your cravings and things, I want you to go to God and ask for help, because this isn't something that you can do on your own. And I think once we realize that and reach out for that help, we receive so much more healing so much quicker than what we can do ourselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Any comments or questions?
No, the only comment I have is that there's a book, Return from Tomorrow. You ever read that?
No.
It's a man. It was during World War II, and he died and left his body, and he saw the spirits on the other side that were addicted to cigarettes and sex and alcohol, and what they were going through because they had not overcome it here on this earth. It's very interesting.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So what you're saying is true. If we don't help get ourselves in order down here, we're going to have problems on the other side until we can overcome it.
Exactly. So it's better to do it now than have to deal with it later, right?
And they use other people's bodies to satisfy themselves.
That's right. Yeah. Okay, so if any of these thoughts come, whether they come from you or some other source, I want you to stop yourself before saying something and check it to be sure if it was said by you, that you would not hurt or offend someone. And if it's something that's going to hurt or offend someone, including yourself, then don't say it, okay? The thoughts, catch them at the door, turn them around to be positive, and if there are thoughts that you just cannot seem to get out of your mind, you can raise your hand to the square and cast those out in the name of Jesus Christ. Those are important things to do. And then stop before you act. Think about how your actions will affect the other person, and don't do it if it hurts them or causes problems for them or you. So this great acronym, NIM, halts. When you're hungry, angry, lonely, tired, or stressed out, just stop what you're doing and take care of yourself, okay? Hungry, angry, lonely, and tired, or stressed. The body has natural cleansing cycles during sleep, change of seasons, every 7 days, 7 weeks, 7 months, and 7 years. That's something Dr. Christopher taught. It can be like peeling the layers off of an onion and may last anywhere from a few days to a few years. Be patient with yourself and others and realize that you will have days where you feel energetic and whole again, and other days where all you want to do is sleep. So listen to your body's needs and take care of yourself. I still have days like that. And sometimes it's frustrating. You know, this past couple of weeks when I've been doing this cleanse, I kind of felt like I was going back into some of how I was before. And I just had to take care of myself. I kind of canceled some appointments and had some naps and just took care of myself. And I had to really manage my thoughts during that time because I was pretty vulnerable. And so just be good to yourself, okay? Basic energy clearing techniques. This one is interesting. I just took a energy course from Jennifer Daly. It was really good. She's talked about E equals mc squared, that energy equals mass times the constant, which is speed of light squared. Emotion equals E motion, or energy in motion. Matter and energy actually mold the shape of space and the flow of time. It is simply the sensation of following the shortest path that we can go through curved, four-dimensional space-time. Space is no longer the box the universe comes in. Instead, space and time, matter and energy are, as Einstein proves, locked together in the most intimate embrace. That source is unknown. So some of the tools that you can do for energy clearing yourself, live food increases our vibrational frequencies and gives us more energy. So it's actually a shift that's happening inside your body. So you're already starting that energy clearing process through the cleansing and nourishing and strengthening your body. Deep breathing is also really important to do. And that can actually help make shifts within the body and the mind. So if you start with an intention, your thoughts plant the seed. Action or imagination gives an experience in the physical body. So acting as if something is happening can make it actually happen. And this is where our thoughts are really powerful. You know, thoughts and words have great power. And when we're speaking negatively all the time, we're having that energy come toward us, or we're actually repelling people away from us. And so being more positive, you'll notice that people want to be around you more. Have you felt that before or sensed that? Yeah. And then when you're not very positive, or somebody else around you is grumpy, you really don't want to be around them. It's that bad energy. So we can use all of our senses to bring it into existence. We can see things, feel, taste, smell, hear, touch, and know. That's the sixth sense of intuition. Statements, declarations, vision boards, goals written down and focused upon, replacing negative thoughts with positive thoughts, becoming conscious of our thoughts, words, and actions, muscle testing, which is kinesiology. Do you know how to do that?
I've heard about it, but I don't know much about it.
Okay. Well, there are several ways that you can do things, and it takes some practice, but I'm going to show you a couple of things that you can do. So, first thing you can do is stand up. Push this away. And what I do is I tap my temples like this, just to kind of clear everything. Okay, so just tapping a couple of times. And then I've got some essential oils here. You can do this with any kind of supplementation that you're wanting to use, or food, anything. So you can, first of all, what I would do is just center. So I like to put my right hand over my heart and my left hand over my stomach. If you want to, you can stand up and do this. Okay, and then I close my eyes and just kind of let my body go. And it'll circle around a lot of times. And then when it comes and moves forward, that's the yes. Okay? So if it goes backward is a no, and then forward is a yes. And if yours is opposite, your polarity might be off. So if you're testing and things just aren't seeming right, then you can actually walk backwards several times and get that polarity back in line where it needs to be. So I'll just walk around the house backwards, and then I'll test again, and the polarity comes back into place. Okay? You can also use your fingers. So I go like this, and then put my other finger like this, and then a yes is firm, and a no goes right through. Try that. Yes, no.
So is it like if you're asking yourself if you should do something or try something?
Yeah, and you need to be careful using this, because some people try to use it to get answers for things that they really need to be getting more from God, or prayer, things like that. But the intention needs to be more, it's based around your attention. So if I'm trying to find out if something is good for me, I can take it and ask the question in my mind or out loud.
Okay.
Does my body need this? And I'm actually going backward on that. Okay. Does my body need this?
Huh.
It doesn't need it. So if I, put an oil or something, does my body need this? So it's actually going forward. So that's for the throat. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, no, I've heard a lot about this, just never really understood the concept.
Yeah. So like I said, it's something that would be helpful for you to try. You can also do it with another person by holding your hand out, and they can take and push down, and if it stands firm like this, then that's a yes, and a no would be where it goes down.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's a good thing to use, and just start testing and seeing if it works. Prayer is one of the best things you can do. It raises the frequency, and then healing or priesthood powers are also incredibly good. Any of these techniques and many more may be used as you feel the need to help get in tune with your body and the energy inside and around you. As you become more aware and in tune to your body, mind, and spirit, you will feel and sense things that you may not have noticed before. So pay attention to the signals your body is sending you. So some of the signs that you may be noticing are pain, and that's usually a signal something isn't right. It could also be a health crisis. And there's a book that I like to use. It's called Healing Your Body A to Z by Louise Hay. There's another one called Feelings Buried Alive, Never Die.
Oh, I have that one.
Okay. So these kinds of books are really good because you can look up the symptom that you're dealing with, and then you can see the probable cause. So for example, I opened up to inflammation, and it says fear, seeing red, inflamed thinking. So the new thought pattern is my thinking is peaceful, calm, and centered. So she gives you a new thought pattern or affirmation that you can say. And sometimes like if I'm not feeling well or if I've got some aches or pains, I'll just go through this book and start looking up everything that I'm feeling. And then oh yeah, I can see where emotionally I'm having that issue right now. So then you can use some of these other skills to be able to get rid of that. Discomfort may be the need to exercise or sign that you may be moving toward pain. Symptoms can mean a wide variety of things. Figure out where it's coming from and ask your body what it means, and then listen. So again, you can use those types of books. There's also a website that I put down here in the blue in the activity that you can go to if you don't have the book, and that has a lot of information there. Organs and symptoms of the body not working properly. These are part of the symptoms: constipation, bowel, or intestinal issues. So these can be a variety of other emotional reasons. But start paying attention to what's going on and figuring out what emotion might be attached to it or what issue is going on for you. Fatigue can be run down, stress, not taking care of yourself. And the emotions tied to that are resistance, boredom, lack of love for yourself and for what you do. Anxiety may be a symptom of negative thinking or fear. Not trusting the flow and process of life is the emotion attached to that. Depression and other mental health issues can be anger and hopelessness. Cancer, deep hurt, long-standing resentment, there's a deep-seated secret, or grief, hatred, and a feeling of what's the use. So those are all in the book that's right there that I showed you. So for your activity this week, what I'd like you to do is take the list of symptoms and feelings that you wrote about during the snapshot activity. Do you remember doing that for week 2?
Yeah.
On pages 11 to 16? So go through those and take a look at your book or this website that has those symptoms associated with the emotions and see what they may be tied to emotionally. Then write your emotions next to the symptoms. Then I want you to ask yourself if each one of these symptoms is tied to an emotion, and if so, which ones. Decide on a tool then from the above list, which is up here. So any of these types of tools or anything else that you know of that can help to clear the energy from these feelings, one by one or all together. Okay, so I have a couple of examples. There's have the intention to release the emotions completely and cut all ties, cords, anything that's binding you to that emotion, and create a statement about it. Then declare that you're going to release it, and then take a deep breath and release that. The second one is that you can visualize an object like a balloon or a bubble surrounding the emotions and symptoms and engulfing them, and then carrying them out into the universe and popping. Then ask for the universe to recycle the symptoms and emotions into beautiful, fresh, clean air. Okay? And stay away from you. You can have the clean air, but not emotions. Use your imagination to visualize these symptoms and emotions detaching from you and not ever coming back. Do what you need to do in your mind to get rid of the energy of the symptoms and emotions and release them for good. Some residue may come back, but keep working on whatever comes up for you and get help where necessary. I also work with energy practitioners, and I'm certified as one, or I'm certifying as one. So I have to do 10, it's actually 9 now, 9 sessions that are paid and 9 that are not paid. So if you're wanting some help with some of this, then let me know, and I'm happy to help you out with that so I can practice, okay?
Okay.
Okay, I wanted to tell you really quickly about an experience that I had last night. I was having a really hard time with my bones. I could just feel that something was off with my bones. And I've been dealing with anemia lately, which I've had for quite some time. So anemia, and I'm sharing my deepest, darkest secrets with you right now, but anemia is associated with the yes, but attitude, a lack of joy, fear of life, and not feeling good enough. So the new thought pattern for that is, it is safe for me to experience joy in every area of my life. I love life. And then for the bones, that represents the structure of the universe. And I can say, I am well structured and balanced. Okay? So these are some of the things that I was kind of feeling. And I was laying in bed, and I got up about 4 o'clock this morning, and I just was hurting all over. And so I started asking questions, just what's going on? And I started praying and asking for some help. And I just was kind of guided or impressed to go ahead and do some energy work on myself. And so what I did is I just laid there, and I started thinking about and visualizing from the bottom of my feet, calcium and magnesium and all the nutrients that my body needed, the minerals and the vitamins and nutrients coming up from the earth and coming in through my feet. And I visualize it, and as I visualized it with my eyes closed, I could actually feel this energy starting to come up through my feet. And it came up through my legs, and I just kept asking for it to help to heal the bones, every bone and muscle and every fiber that was around those muscles, just going up all the way through my back, especially through the spine area, because that was kind of in pain, and then all the way up through my head. And then I asked for the light of Christ to come in through my head and go all the way down through my body, and just this warm feeling came over me. And I was doing energy healing on myself through my intention and through my visualization, and it was powerful. And I woke up, and I haven't had problems with feeling those achy bones today, and I just feel a lot better. So I want you to know that you can do this on yourself, and you can do it on your family, and it happens with your intention of what you want, and then visualizing it happening to you, and then having that faith that it will happen, and asking for God's help for that. Okay? Are there any questions about this?
No.
Okay. Have you done this before?
I've been.
Haven't.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Julia.
Oh, okay, I've been seeing a person that kind of, I think, does something similar to this. I don't know, they don't really call it energy healing, but we do visualize and release a lot of stuff. I have only gone to her a few times, but it seems to help.
Good. Sandra, have you had some experience with this?
I haven't. No, I've never done this.
Okay.
It's,
Well,
it's
it's something to experiment with and to see if that's something that will help you. It has definitely helped me. So I hope that learning a few things like this will help you as well.
yeah.
All right, so for the following week, because we're going to be taking a week off, what I'd like you to do next week is some knife skills, okay? So if you'll watch the knife skills video, and Sandra, I still need to get you attached to this. Julia, you already have access to the online programs, right?
I think so. I think you sent me an email, but I have not looked at it.
Okay. So go ahead and take a look at that, and it should have a password in there for you.
Okay.
You can go in and change the password once you get in. But this has a whole bunch of videos in there, and I have videos in my kitchen showing you how to do various knife skills. So it will go along with this, this couple of pages here. So first of all, sharpening a knife. A dull knife can injure you more than a sharp knife can. To sharpen a dull knife blade, use a whetstone. At a 20-degree angle, place the blade's heel against the whetstone and press down on the blade while you push it away from you along the stone. So again, in the video, it shows you exactly how to do this. So I want you to go through each video and learn how to do the knife, sharpening, honing the steel and your knife care, and read through this. And then practice holding the knife. I show you how to hold the knife. I also think I think I go through the anatomy of the knife, so the different parts of the knife. And then I show you the grip here. These are some illustrations that I created for you so that you could see what I was talking about. The different types of cuts. I'll show you the different cuts in one of the videos as well. So that's these here. And then chopping. And you're cutting sticks and dicing. So all of this is in a video showing you how to do it. And then I also have another video about cutting onions and mincing. I don't think that I have the tournier, but the oblique or roll cut, I think I have that. So anyway, just go through each of these and take a look at it, and then I want you to practice it. So your assignment for next week is to watch the knife skills video in the online program, practice holding your knife as explained and slicing back and forth on the cutting board, and then practice the different cuts above as you prepare food, making sure to check your grip and technique as you go. And then a bonus assignment would be to read over pages 8 to 23 in the Reasonably Raw recipe book. Look at your kitchen and decide where your zones are. There is a video on the zones as well, so if you don't have the book, Sandra, you can go ahead and look at that video. And I talk about zones and triangles. So let me just explain it to you really quickly here. It's this section in the book starting on page 15. It's called the kitchen, okay? And then in the zone area, okay, so this one is on page 20. You see there are different illustrations here for the zones. Now the triangles and zones, so zones are created in your kitchen to help you move around easier and know how to organize your cupboards and drawers to be more efficient. I have 3 main zones which create the first triangle called the food prep triangle, or sorry, food prep zone. So these are the areas of the kitchen that I move around in the most, and they consist of the sink, the refrigerator, and the island. I actually designed my kitchen when we built this house because the plans, I think some guy did it who doesn't cook, because all of the major appliances were right next to each other. And I said, this is not going to work. So I took and redesigned the entire kitchen and made the triangle. So I have and I think you can see it here. I have.
Yeah, that's in the Beautifully Raw book too.
Okay, yes. So I have do you both have your books? I have in my kitchen the refrigerator, and then that's one point of the triangle, and then the sink is the other point, and then they both connect over to the island. So that's the triangle that I've identified that I move in the most from those three things. And then that's the food prep zone. Then I have a cooking zone, which goes from my spice cupboard over to the stove and the refrigerator. And it's kind of a smaller triangle, okay? My baking zone, when I used to bake, was in my pantry area and the cupboard and counter next toward that, which is above my dishwasher. So those two made the triangle. And then I also used the island for the baking. So those were the cupboards that I would put the baking supplies in. And then I put the other like pans and things like that in the island underneath. And so all those things were within that triangle. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is how you can organize your kitchen. So this next week, if for a bonus assignment, if you're up for this, go ahead and take a look at what's going on in your kitchen. See where your small triangles are, where you can put the majority of your ingredients and pans and different things so that you can be more efficient in that area. And then where your larger triangle is in the kitchen where you do your most work. And then that will help you to see how to set up your kitchen for greater success. When I did more of the raw food, I found a cupboard that I just put all of my ingredients for my raw food in. Now it's all over the kitchen because that's mostly what I do with my family and stuff. But if you only have like one shelf that you can dedicate to that so that you can feel like you're supporting yourself, then do that. Okay? Any questions on zones and triangles?
No.
Or
No,
anything else? I'll open it up to questions and comments.
I think that zones and triangles is a very interesting concept. Never thought of that before.
Yeah, I read this in an old book my mom had. It's out of print now, but I just thought that was fascinating, and it really helped me with getting my kitchen organized. So, okay, I wanted to go over real quick the activities that we had from last time. So how did both of you do with that dots activity? Always be collecting dots? Did either of you do that?
I didn't do that. This week, like I said, it's just really been busy past week.
Okay, how did that go for you,
Thought
Sandra?
about it, but I didn't do it.
How did that go for you?
For what?
Oh, did you say you did do it or
No,
not?
I didn't do it. I didn't
Oh.
do it. But I said I read about it and I
Oh,
thought
gotcha.
interesting, but I didn't have time to do it. I think on Tuesday I wrote down on the live tracker what I had for the day and
Okay,
the
good.
night. About it.
Okay. Well, that's okay. And then we had the assignments for homework on page 24. Julia, how did you do with all of those things?
Oh boy.
Let's see. I read through it all, and I probably not as good as I could have. I did get the notebooks and was thinking about like the different notebook activity, and we had a crazy week, and it's funny how there's so much that you can make. You need to make time for this, but it's easy to make excuses.
Yeah.
But I know this just has to be part of our life.
Right.
But I did do like several of these things on here. So I mean, I read through it a few times and kind of made note of things, but I didn't do it as consistently as I wanted to.
Okay. Well, you can try and get that done then this next week. And are the two of you getting together for accountability?
No, we have
No,
not.
we haven't.
Okay. Well, sounds like there are a few adjustments that need to be made. So will you do that this week and be accountable to each other, please?
Yeah, we'll try.
And next week?
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got each other's numbers, right?
I think you sent me the email.
Okay.
Yeah, you sent it to us in the email. I have it. I have the email.
All right.
So okay,
Well, I'll be checking up on you again to make you accountable.
I think about it, and then I think, well, in a little bit, I've got something else to do. So I never get it done. So
Yeah, well, it needs to be a priority if, again, going back to that commitment of why you're going through this program. You know, this is for you to be able to help you become the best you that you can and to change some of these things that you're not liking with different symptoms and other issues that you may be dealing with. So go back to that commitment level. How committed are you to this? And if you're highly committed, then let's get these things done, okay?
yep.
Awesome. Well, I think you're both doing great. Is there anything else that you'd like to discuss with me before we go? Kind of a free little, we've got some time if you want to go through a little group session here.
Well, let me just ask you this question. I have a couple of friends that they're older people, you know, they're over 65, I think they're in their 70s. And they both ended up with urinary tract infections. And when you get older like that, you don't have the ordinary symptoms. And so they ended up going to the hospital.
Oh, wow.
You know, because, I mean, one just fainted and was just disoriented. And the other one, you know, she threw up in bed and then she got disoriented. And so I was wondering, is that generally an indication of a lot of candida overgrowth?
Yeah, definitely. And the pH balance is out of whack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that can be difficult, especially with eating that highly processed food. I don't know if they're in a home or if they're, you know, by themselves or whatever, but
They're in their own individual homes, you know, and I know the one eats highly processed food. The other, they grow their own vegetables and fruits and stuff, but they could eat more processed food too. But they do a lot of canning, and there's a lot of sugar. And
yeah, there is. And that just feeds those microforms that we talked about.
Yeah. So I was talking to one of them last night, and I was telling her, I mean, you probably got candida. And you know, when you get older, you don't have the burning sensation you do when you're younger. So you have no idea you've got the problem.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, you got to be really careful. I was going to talk a little bit about the diflucan. Have you heard of that?
No.
Diflucan is one of those medications that they prescribe. There's a lady that I know that is a good friend, and my husband's he has a, what am I trying to say? My father-in-law is a doctor, and so she wanted me to ask him for some prescriptions so that she could get diflucan, and he gave her one, but she kept wanting more, and he said no. But it's a very, very powerful medication that will kill off both the good and the bad bacteria in the gut. And that's where your immune system is. And if you're killing that off constantly, you really don't have much to work with. And this poor lady, she's almost on her deathbed now. She's just ruined her body. And it's rough to see. So I want you guys to be really careful with antibiotics and with these really strong medications. They can really do some damage. Yeah. It's a lot better to use fermented foods to be getting those good bacteria in there. The garlic is nature's antibiotic. We talked about that. So anything you need that for, and it can help to kill off the overgrowth of the candida as well. We do need to have a little bit of candida in our bodies, but it needs to not get out of control. Okay, so that's a good question. Anything else?
Well, this is just, I'm trying to look back through my notes where I had questions. So I'm having a hard time, you know, where to buy organic food. If I can't find like peaches or pears this time of year, or like I can find lots of them, but should I only look for organic? If I can't find organic, is it okay to eat regular? Or what are your thoughts on that? Because I go to the Good Earth and sometimes they don't have anything that I'm looking for. Or it's hard to find it, but I find plenty. But I'm almost afraid not. I don't want to eat anything that's not organic.
Do you have a Costco membership?
Yeah, I do. I go there all the time. So I get the organic foods and I get the organic frozen berries and things there.
Good.
But I was thinking of more, I guess, fresh, but it's like you have to go to a farm or something this time, and then it's getting to where the season is pretty much over. So
Yeah, well, we talked about finding resources, and I forgot to tell you that one. So let me see if I can remember. You can actually just go online and Google it, but Utah, what are those called? Greenhouse farmers, and see what comes up there. But you can buy like portions of the farm or something. I don't know how it works, but
I've heard of the farm shares, CSA
farm shares. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so look up something like that so that you can get a farm share, and that should help out because they have lots of fresh produce throughout the year. I don't know so much about the fruit though.
Yeah.
But anything that gets imported in here, it's being grown somewhere around, and that's okay. Just eat what you can.
Yeah.
And having some of the fresh fruits are really good too. I did a whole bunch of peaches. I individually froze them on a sheet and then put them in a bag so that they're easy to come out. And so I'm using those, and this is a great time.
Find them.
Well, I don't do all organic stuff.
Okay.
And I think part of what my issue was with those toxins passing through the heart may have been some of the chemicals.
Okay.
So we've got to cleanse, clean things out, but it's not perfect.
I understand. We made the choice, my husband and I, to buy organic as much as possible.
Right. That's good.
About at the beginning of this year. And so, for a long time, I was always thinking it was too expensive, but we just decided that we weren't going to worry about that, and somehow it will work out.
Good.
So I've lost a lot of weight, and I don't know, I think it might have, I don't know. I've read all kinds of articles that sometimes your body gets rid of the pesticides, and I don't know. But anyway, I feel good about buying organic. It's just sometimes I think to myself, look at all that other produce that's right there. Should I just get some? And I don't. I usually don't, but then I feel like I'm not getting as good a variety as I should. I obviously can find apples and bananas, and I can find the basics of the fruit. And then Smith seems to have a really good organic section lately of the vegetables and things. So
good. Yeah, I would. Okay, so here's something else to think about. Prayer is so powerful. I heard a story about these monks who decided that they were all going to have poison and see if it would do anything to them if they would pray over it first. So they prayed and meditated over the poison, and each one of them had some, and nothing happened to them. And this happens a lot and I think in this day and age now, we're getting toxins coming down from the clouds.
Yeah.
We're getting it everywhere. And this is where the energy healing comes back into play, where I go outside on walks and I pray and ask for a bubble to go around me so that I can be protected, and around my dog. And I do that when I go underneath power lines and things like that. And we've got to have that kind of faith that everything is going to turn out okay. So pray over your food and ask that those things be taken out and that your body can eliminate it quickly so that you don't have those ill effects from it. And I think you're going to be okay.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. And for the longest time, when I was learning about kind of the energy of our emotions and the energy of everything, it was a hard concept for me to accept. I kind of thought this seems a little bit weird. The last probably 6 months since I really started understanding it a little bit more, I think that it definitely, there's truth to it, and I'm learning more each day. So
definitely.
I try to explain it to my family, but they're not as open to the idea yet.
Yeah, I understand. I wanted to read Jessica's question here. She wasn't able to join us tonight, but she said that she's been reading about the mucusless diet, and it's promoting fasting for healing. And then like no food or drink fasting versus juice fasting or water fasting, which is better. I think it just depends on what you feel you need. Like this past week, I just felt like it was kind of like my body said, I'm tired of eating. I don't want to eat right now. So I checked in with it and said, okay, do you want to just go without any food or water? And it said, no, I want juice. So I went ahead and did a 3-day juice cleanse. And then I asked toward the end, because I was really tired and felt like I needed to start eating again. And I just asked my body, are you done cleansing? And it said, yes. And a lot of stuff came out, and it got deep. I mean, there was some really dark black stuff coming out. And I think I needed to go into that deeper level of cleansing. And so these things, these tools are given to us to be able to do what we need to get down to those deep layers of cleansing. But ask yourself, ask your body, what kind of fasting do you want? Or, do you want to do juice or water or whatever? I tune into my body a lot, and I want you guys to learn how to do that too. She also mentioned that she still has mucus and has for several weeks, even though she's been doing a raw vegan diet for 3 weeks. Wondered how long that's going to go on. The mucus it's this mucoid plaque that it goes along the lining of the mucous membrane, which is different. We have the mucous membrane inside of us to protect us, but the mucoid plaque comes from the food, and it's actually like a defense mechanism in the body for it to be able to grab things and get it out of the system. Sometimes it can be like a glue pot where you're getting layer upon layer upon layer, and you have to kind of chip away at that. And that's where a lot of the herbs will come in. Like I mentioned earlier, the red raspberry leaf tea is really good for cleansing the mucus out of the system. You can do the onions again. And then just this mucusless diet is getting rid of the foods that are mucus forming. So that would be the dairy and the eggs and the meat. The animal products are very mucus forming to the system. Sometimes I've gotten mucus too from oatmeal or other things like that. So I just need to kind of be careful. And then, of course, the processed foods and sugars, those all kind of create that mucus. So it just, for me, do you guys remember when I talked a little bit about how I was over a bucket and just throwing up this mucus? I think I discussed that.
I don't know.
Where I did the peppermint tea first so that it wouldn't hurt so bad, and then I just had this time where this mucus needed to get up, and so I started coughing out, and it took probably 4 or 5 hours, and I was in so much pain and just agony. But after that episode, the mucus was not in my system anymore as long as I didn't eat the mucus forming foods. So you might have an episode like that, and then we're so used to shoving medications and things down for any kind of symptom that comes up. And so we talked about this earlier, about it being called, where was that? It's in the symptoms. Oh, it's right here, retracting phenomenon, where you're re-experiencing symptoms from conditions in the past that you may have interrupted with medications or other medical interventions that are still holding on. So that's where some of this mucus you could be dealing with that as well. And so you've got to just get it up and out of the system instead of trying to keep shoving it down. And sometimes it's not fun, but once it gets out, it's a lot better. Okay. And then she asked about Dr. Christopher's son, David, did an energy healing conference in April and mentioned using apple cider vinegar, cayenne pepper, and natural yeast to break down protein, carbs, and fats. Those have enzymes in them naturally, so they're going to do that. You can use apple cider and honey to be able to cut down the mucus. So that would be good to do as, a warm apple cider and honey. Just warm it up and drink that, and that will help cut the mucus in the system. So hopefully that will help. Any other last questions or comments at this point before we wrap up?
Nope, not for me.
Okay. Well, do you feel like you're getting some good information here and that it's helping?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Good, good. Well, again, if you have any questions throughout the week, I don't want you to wait, Julia, for 2 weeks for us to meet again.
Okay.
You text me and tell me what's going on, and we'll get you taken care of, okay?
Thank
The same
you.
with you, Sandra, and anybody else watching this, okay?
Okay, thanks.
Sounds
All
good.
right. Create a wonderful next couple of weeks, and we will meet next time. Let's see, our next meeting will be on the 16th at 7 o'clock, and that'll be our fourth session, and it will be for weeks 7 and 8. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Have a wonderful night.
Thank
Okay,
you.
see you, bye.